Welcome to Connecting Greeks, a streaming comedy show and podcast designed to explore and enhance Greek culture around the world. Join hosts Angelo, Adi, and Foti as they bring you fun and interesting guests from all walks of Greek life. Grab a kafedaki and join us.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Connecting Greek podcast. I am Ari and I am here with my two awesome co-hosts. The first I'll introduce, Foti Stamos, less awesome of the two. Let's just say that now.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I gotta do it. You know, our other esteemed co-host, he's sensitive. You know, we have to make him feel special. And speaking of special, Angelo Tarujas. What's up, man?
Are you saying that in the Olympic way? Special? What? What are you doing? Hi, Adi. Hi, Foti. How you doing?
That's Angelo.
How you doing, man?
Good. You know, back we're doing some more Connecting Greeks podcast, and I'm very excited about today's guest because he's a friend of mine, and he's written this book. He's from Philadelphia, and this is a very, very interesting life story. And his book is called Booked, The Philly Godfather, and it's signed by him right here, which I'm very, very happy he did. That put personal touch. I've been friends with Stelios for a few years now in Philadelphia. This book is, I started reading it because I just got it, and I'm telling you right now, man, it's a fascinating story, and I don't want to keep embellishing on it now. So welcome the Connecting Greeks, Stelios Maltepes. Hey, Stelios, how you doing?
Yasu Stelio.
Thank you so much for having me on, guys. I feel like I'm, with the elite up here, Angelo, Adi, and Fotos. That last name is pretty famous. I don't know if there's any relation.
There might be.
I feel like royalty here today.
Amy. Now, listen, the book's, it's called Booked, okay, guys? And the thing is, and I've been talking about this with some friends, and it's a story. Stelios is the Philly Godfather. And let me explain something about this man. Super high IQ. He's been on numerous television shows talking about the odds makers. He's met fascinating people. We were having a conversation, and I wanted to know something about somebody in Vegas. Oh, let me make a call. Boom. I got the numbers right away. And I was like, wow. And it's like, Stelios, without me talking too much, or I want you to explain how you got a little bit to write this book called The Philly Godfather. So we want to know.
Well, originally we had written a screenplay, me and Greg Lingo, my partner. Lingo had done a movie. It was called The Last Call. He had Jeremy Piven in it, Bruce Stern, a bunch of good actors, Jamie Kennedy. And we're childhood friends, and we reconnected about 5-6 years ago, right before COVID hit. And we started writing my screenplay, my movie, my life story, because I've had a pretty wild ride. It's a story about a true Greek American, myself, and it details, my parents coming over from Greece in 1969. All the, sacrifice. My dad was one of the hardest workers in the world. He worked 90 hours a week. He was a dishwasher when he first came over, making $1 an hour, working 90 hours a week. And his motto always was, growing up, if you work 40 hours a week and it's not enough, you work 60. If that's not enough, you work 80. If that's not enough, you work 100. And if that's not enough, you don't sleep, because failure wasn't an option. And that's where I got a lot of my values. And, he just worked. And eventually, right 78, 79, he had saved up enough money, and he bought a little hot dog cart. And that's when his American dream started, because he started making some money. He was a business owner. And that's when our lives changed a little bit. We weren't as poor as we were before that. And then I started working in the hot dog cart at the age of 8. Taught me so many valuable lessons. The value of a dollar. Taught me how to talk to people. I mean, I was in there by myself selling hot dogs, sausages, and meatballs. 8, 9, 10-year-old kid. So imagine that, walking down the streets of Philadelphia, and you see this little kid in there working by himself. And then I dropped out of high school in 9th grade, and that's when my journey began. It's been a wild ride. By the age of 18, I had hooked up with some friends that were moving big money for these big professional sports bettors out in Las Vegas. And I started getting into that. And I was hustling weed on the side. And next thing you know, that took off. And I ended up in the jungles of Mexico with one of the biggest cartels. I don't want to spoil it, if you guys read the book. And, took a different path, less traveled, with the sports betting and the marijuana. And now, these days, it's legal. It's fashionable. It's not taboo anymore. Everyone wants a part of it, whether it's a dispensary or, they're betting on sports. They have me on the biggest shows in the world, from Fox and Friends, ESPN, Fox Business. I've done stuff with Clay Travis. You name the show, and I've been on it talking about, who to bet on with sports. I'm a sports betting consultant, and that kind of, sums it up a little bit. I've been married for 32 years, beautiful Puerto Rican girl, stayed together, raised two beautiful kids. They both went to college. They didn't take my route, thank God. Nothing like me. They haven't stressed me out a little bit. I could imagine what I did to my parents. But, yeah, it's a true Greek-American story, and I think you guys are going to love it.
Wow. Yeah, Stelio, you summed it up. Here you are, a child of Greek immigrants. You're in the fucking jungles of Mexico talking to cartel leaders. I mean, the balls. Seriously. I mean, and this is the thing. People say you gotta have that in you, which you have. You have that personality. When I sit and talk with you, whether we're having lunch, yeah, and don't get me wrong, people will tell stories, and you're kind of like, okay, I've heard this shit before. When you sit with Stelio, you're like, you're listening because you, what, who, New York, New Orleans, water company, Arizona. I mean, the book. I haven't got through it all yet, Stelio, because I got it in. And I'm up about a third of the way with it right now. But it's fascinating. And what I love about you, family is everything. It's very important. You have beautiful kids. Your wife's Puerto Rican. And she's she's a lovely lady. I'm sure the Greek parents weren't maybe happy at first. Because, Greeks always want us to copulate with Greeks. But look, but it's amazing to me because the thing about this, see, everyone, guys, thinks their story is interesting, right? Anybody you talk to will tell you, oh, my story is interesting. No, yours is fucking interesting. I mean, it's not, there's no bullshit here. The things you did, the odds of it, like you dropped out of high school, but you're obviously extremely intelligent. So sometimes I think my brother's like this, where some people, it's boring for them. I'm in school. I know this shit. Why do I need to do? I'm not telling people to drop out of school, but for some people, you have this other ability, street smarts, sensibility that other people will never probably get in their life, right? So and the thing for me, Stelio, when I'm reading your book, and I like the title "Booked." I love how you break things down. Everything's booked. When you go to the hospital, you're booked by the doctors. When you go to school, you're booked. Meaning, that's very Greek. It's like, otina kanis, kapis kerdisi. Like, you're paying somewhere, school, hospital, restaurant, fucking dance classes, whatever. And I love the way you brilliantly deduct that. And that's why the title for your book is good, because it's a metaphor pretty much for life. Am I right? Like...
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember my father, we had the hot dog business, and he would equate everything to how many pretzels he had to sell to make up to buy that. I got to sell 1,000 pretzels to buy that. Are you crazy? I got to work all day. So, yeah, you're definitely always getting booked. There's someone always in your pocket, whether it's, you're going to try to get a college education, whether you get your driver's license and the insurance companies are in your pocket. When you're getting married, the wedding industry is in your pocket with all their brilliance, and you got to buy that big diamond ring. They precondition everyone. You got to save 3 months, 6 months to go out and buy a ring, or you can't get married. So everyone's always in your pocket, and that's why we called it booked. And when you get in trouble with the law, you get booked. And when you place a sports bet, you get booked. And they're the two hottest topics in the country right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to say real quick, I kind of never thought of it that way, and that's a really cool way to think about it, of life in general. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's
you're true. It's 100% true.
Yeah, you got to flip the odds in your favor, because the odds are stacked against you. If you look at all these, from the insurance companies to the car insurance, health insurance, to the mortgage, everyone's always in your pockets. Now, how do you flip that in your favor, and you start making the money, and you start getting ahead as a family, and you start saving for your kids and your grandkids? And that's what the book's all about, flipping the odds in your favor, where you have a chance to become successful at the end of the day.
Now let me ask you. It's interesting because I think you nailed it on the head. It's like people will go through life sometimes when they say ignorance is bliss, right? And I didn't know any better. But the fact of the matter is, when you start reading Stelio's book, you realize this is his story. But what you're starting to realize is how you at a young age had that awakening. Like you almost saw things differently from other people, which made you such a good odds maker, which makes you, and really when you're reading it, what I'm starting to see, and even hanging out with you, you have a really good way to read people. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. You read people, right?
Yeah, I mean, the best poker players in the world, it's not the math. It's can you read your opponent? Can you tell if he's bluffing, if he's not bluffing? And if I wasn't a good judge of character, I would have been dead a long time ago. I was involved with some serious people. I got locked up in 2005. I went to trial in 2006. I fought for my freedom, the Constitution, and I lost. I was found guilty on all charges, but I was innocent of the crime that they charged me with. And 2 years later, I overturned my conviction after spending 2 years in prison in Arizona, where it was 122 degrees with no air conditioning, surrounded by mass murderers and killers. And I had to make it through all that. And then I overturned my conviction in 2008, and I was exonerated of all charges, and I was released. So I've been through so much. And if I wasn't able to read people, I would have been dead a long time ago, Angelo.
Right. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that, especially in this kind of an industry, and look, I'm going to tell you right now, everybody bets on something, whether it's a lottery ticket. I know a comedy club owner that owed the guy 150 large, and the guy showed up and says, guess what? We're partners now. And it's comedy club, because Malaka, you owe me. And what would he do? And I've seen it. I've met people. I know some people like this. And what they do is they go, okay, I owe you 60, double or nothing. And then it's like, and the guy goes, it's a lock. And then you throw in there. And then after that, they're like, well, and then all of a sudden you're partners, right? You're partners. And I think the thing is that everybody, because look, when you go to a casino, and I'm speaking from my experience, the word common sense does not exist, right? You have no fucking common sense. I'll be in the casino. I was on the ship last week going to Mexico. I'm up $450, $450. It's lunch, whatever. But I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to leave. And with $450, tu spira talafta. Then I see one machine at the corner. I'm going to put 50 in this. I dropped the $450 and I drop another $300. So I got booked. I tell you, I got booked.
Absolutely. And you don't want to get booked. And I approach the sports betting market like a business. I make a lot of money betting on sports. And people ask me all the time, well, how do you do it? Well, I tell them it's easy. Listen, when you're looking to buy your first house, you might look at all the comps in the neighborhood. You might spend 100 hours. You're looking at the upgrades in the house, the schools, the demographics, the crime rate. You're looking, maybe, does this house have value? Is it going to go up in value? And you might spend 100 hours before you buy your first house. Well, imagine you spend 100 hours a week on a game and on a match and looking at all the injury reports, who's coming back from injuries, who's coming out. You look at all the advanced metrics, the analytics. You're going to get you have a better chance of winning that wager than if you just wake up and you use recency bias and you remember what happened last week and you're saying, okay, this week I like the Eagles. I'm going to bet them this week. But you don't know who's coming back, who's hurt, who's banged up, the matchups on these teams, the offensive efficiency numbers, the defensive efficiency numbers. So if you imagine you spend 100 hours a week, researching, you got a better chance because at the end of the day, it's an educated guess. And the break-even point when you're betting the NFL or college football is 52.4% because you're risking 110 to win 100. So if you can win more than 52.4% of your games betting the NFL or college football, you're going to turn a profit. And the only way you can do that is with extensive research and data analysis. And that's what we do on a daily basis. And that's why we make money in the sports betting market.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Estelle, if I can add to what you just mentioned, now that we live in a different world with all these apps that allow you to do this, what's your take on all this new activity, apps in sports betting?
Well, I was old-fashioned for years, and then I teamed up with a kid that he used to work for NASA, and he has these algorithms and software that used to predict earthquakes and all kinds of stuff, and we've kind of incorporated it in what I do, and we're looking for predictive indicators. We're looking for different matchups, and I combine new technology. We're actually using AI now, too, as well. Hasn't worked out so far, but it takes time to get going, the AI programs. And I'm still beating the computer, but eventually I think the computer is going to beat me. Maybe not, but, so I started using some new technology, but I'm old-fashioned, man. I read about this time of year, about 8 to 10 hours a day, every article in the newspaper on these basketball teams, on these baseball teams. I read all the stats. During football season, we're in the office meeting a bunch of guys, and we're reading between 12 and 14 hours a day. And that goes back to my dad's hard work ethic, man. If you outwork the other guy, you got a better chance of succeeding. And that's what we do with sports betting. We just keep reading. We read as much as possible because you never know when a certain article is going to light up a light bulb above your head. And then you look at the price and you realize there's value in that wager, and then you go make that wager.
You know, it's interesting, Stelio, you say that because you just said now you're doing your research. So it's not a fluke. You're reading. What's the difference if you're reading at a library, reading about sports betting? You're doing the research, and you're like you said, if a light bulb pops up, the guy says this guy 3 years ago injured his calf or something, then you can say, okay, this could affect whatever. I'm saying, it could be any of those type of things. But I haven't got to this one chapter yet, but the one I like is that there's not enough pork or ammunition in North Hollywood. I haven't got there.
North Philadelphia.
I mean, I love the titles of it, and the thing about Philadelphia is such a good food place, and I noticed there was a lot of pizza shops where you hung out with your friends, right?
Yeah, North Philly's one of the most dangerous parts of Philadelphia. That's where my wife was from. It's called the Badlands for a reason. And they have these little pincho stands everywhere with all the pork and, the little skewers, and they put the little piece of bread on there. And they're delicious. And there's a lot of violence there. So that's why the chapter is called There's Never Enough Pork or Ammunition, because there's so much pork and bullets up in those type of neighborhoods that you got to really be careful what you're eating and where you're hanging out at.
That is awesome, and I know that because you went to I did the shows at Upper Darby at St. Demetrius, where you grew up in that area, and I know you have an affinity for Corvettes because we went out with Stelio and he goes, I'm going to give you a ride home, and he's got when I was really fat, I couldn't fit in that car, and I was so proud that I got in your car, and you're like, I've always had this thing about the Corvette, it's like, and do you find? Can you associate that a little bit with the American dream in a sense that, you reward yourself with something you enjoy? And
I mean, it's the best American sports car they ever made. And I'll tell you a story that I didn't write in the book that we didn't use it. But before my father came to America, he was at the Greek Cafaneo right by Caterini, right by Olimbo. And this guy pulled up in an old vet. And my dad didn't know what it was. And the guy's name was Leftetti. My dad asked him, what do you do for a living? Back then my dad was starving. They were tobacco farmers, and they weren't making enough money, to make it. And he goes, I got a little restaurant in America, this and that. And here's, if you ever want to come over, and you ever want to get a job, and my dad was so blown away by that car and the styling of that car. I think he had like a 63 Vet back in like 68 or 69 driving through Greece, which, everyone back then was like, what's this, a spaceship? So just from that. And then when I was growing up, that car really, had an affinity towards it because of the styling, because it was the American sports car. And if you could just buy that car, we were poor growing up, man, if I could just have a Corvette, man, I might be somebody. And through the years, the Vet kept changing. And when I was a young kid, I had made some money. I hustled up some money. I bought my first Corvette when I was 17. And I was in love with them ever since, man. It's one, and the new Corvette, oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's like a spaceship.
It's like a rocket.
Yeah, it's more like a Ferrari. They finally got it right. But yeah, it's part of the American dream, man. I mean, the immigrants come over and you grow up here and you're struggling and you're working, you're called off and you're trying to make it. And then you finally buy that sports car. And it's a Corvette. And it was a big thing to me. It has a big meaning in my heart.
Well, look. Sorry.
I think, Angelo, I mean, I'll speak for myself, maybe Ari. I mean, us as Greek Americans, working in our parents' restaurants, going through school, I think all of us had this connection to getting a sports car at such a young age. I think going to school as Greeks, we're the first ones to drive cars to school. And our non-Greek friends were like, what the hell's going on here? Like, how do you guys do this? It's like every Greek American I've met across the country has a similar story growing up as a teenager, getting that first sports car.
Yeah, but you had to work for it, though.
Yeah, we did.
That was the difference. You had to work for the fucking thing. It wasn't gifted, especially with Greeks. Even if the parents had money, the lepsies, not to paris. And then you get halalis, do it, right? But still, I got to tell you, as you know, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, and I do a lot of things. Your book has to become a television series on one of the networks. You got me hooked already. Like by chapter 1, 2, I'm like, okay, I want to know more about this, and all the stories, the water company, the way we met with your wife, all the other people. Because the name of your show is right here, Booked, the Philly Godfather. I mean, it's like, so I know you were talking. Well, your friend's a producer, and there's some people interested in it. Has the book helped that at all a little bit? I recommend everybody get this book, man, and we're going to put it at the end of the podcast. But it's an interesting story. It really is.
Yeah, we were talking to a couple guys at Netflix, so we had 2 meetings with them already. We got another meeting next week. But there's a bunch of streaming services, and I want it to be done right. I don't want them to take it and change it because it is a Greek American story. And that's why I wrote the book, because I want to own the IP, our intellectual property. I don't want them to change it, because sometimes you give them a great script, a great book, and they change it all around. Next thing you know, I'm not Greek anymore in the movie. And I don't want that done because of my Greek heritage. My Greek culture means so much to me growing up. I mean, St. Demetrius, that's the church I went to since I was a kid. I moved out of that neighborhood 30 years ago, and I still go back. You know, that's my church. I grew up there. St. D's, Upper Darby. I was born in Upper Darby. And it just means so much. And you know, the Greek festivals, the Greek churches, they hold our Greek community together, while you see other nationalities, they break apart and they don't have that strength, because our family is our strength and our Greek culture is everything to me.
That's a good point, because you made a good point here, because really when you talk to generations of Italians who are 6, 7, 8 generation, and you can ask them, hey, where's your family from in Italy? They don't know. We know, like you said, your dad's from Caterini. We know Forti's family's from Kalimnos because he fucking reminds us every 8 minutes. and my dad's from Sparti, who they hate everybody. They hate the next village. Doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter. The key factor here, and you just hit it on the head, is that you know where your family's from, and we need to pass this down to our kids and their kids. And that's why the festivals are so important, not just because of the food and the drink, but it shows the rest of America and the world what a culture. Look, when I did the shows there, we hung out after. We were a whole bunch of us, but the festival was over. We were there till 3 a.m, smoking cigars and just shooting the shit with the other guys that were there. And Greeks love parea, and they love the whole, getting together and doing that thing. It's so important. And you're right. Other cultures, it's like Portuguese. I'm not singling them out. I'm just saying that they don't have that like what the Greeks do. But we got to maintain that. That's why we do this podcast with Fortinati, to bring your stories and other stories like it on here, so people can meet you and get a little glimpse of what your life's like in Philadelphia or Vancouver or Johannesburg or Melbourne. It doesn't matter. We all come from that little place in the fucking Mediterranean called Greece, which looks like
I appreciate you guys having me on. And, everyone's got a story, like you said, Ange, but this is, it's not just because it's my story. It's because I've been through so much, ups and downs, highs and lows. And it's a story about redemption. And even though I went off the beaten path, my family was my strength. And what's great about this book that I think is, you start reading it and you're like, this ain't true. And then you'll Google something and be like, oh, my God, it is true. And then there's pictures that are accompanying the story, and you're like, oh, my God, this really happened. And it's kind of like Forrest Gump, Slumdog Millionaire, and True Romance all put together. If I had to, surmise it, it's just – and I think back now and all the crazy things I did. I couldn't do them today, but when you're young, you feel like you're invincible. You have a different mindset, and failure, like I said, for me, was never an option.
Well, see, there's your driving force for your show. Failure wasn't an option. And like you said, all these stories, Slumdog Millionaire, it's all based on reality. You can't fictionalize this stuff. You got to live it. And when you read Stelios' book, the Philly Godfather, you see it, and that's what is good, because the way you wrote the book, it's like we're sitting down, we're having a coffee at the Caffeineo or a plate of pasta at that fucking awesome place you took me to in Philadelphia, with best macaroni I've ever had. And we're just talking. I'm not kidding you. And to me, that's what is. I'm so happy about this, and I think for anybody listening, get the book. and you got to read it. And yes, I've seen some of the stuff on television. This is a good series. This has heart and grit, and it's based on the truth. And like, I love that tagline. I love, you just said it. You don't think you realize it. Failure is not an option. That's your fucking tagline for this fucking show. Failure is not an option, because our parents, and this is why I was so inspired by this, all our parents came over. No language, no nothing. Working 200 hours a week, having families. I got my cousin fucking Spiro in Toronto, fucking 60 years old. I can't find a woman. I got Malaka. You can't get your shit together. But our parents came over, didn't know where they were going. They came to America. What do we do? Oh, the pasta lepsis keep. They made it happen. And look, we're all here. We're all here. That we're products of these people. If they're not scared, why are we scared?
Yeah. God, I'm sorry.
No, sorry. And it's in this book.
Yeah, I was going to leave you with one thing. People always ask me all the time, how do you gamble so much money on the game, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000? And I tell them, well, I do my research, but at the end of the day, it's only money. And the biggest gamblers in the world were our parents that came over here. They left their country, didn't speak a word of English, had $200 in their pocket in search of the American dream. To me, that's a much bigger gamble than betting on a game or the Super Bowl or the NBA championship. They were the real gamblers. Me, I'm just betting money. It's no big deal.
Interesting.
A lot of things that you say, you put into perspective. It's a really good way to think, and it's a really good way to look at life.
Absolutely.
Really cool.
Absolutely. And guys, I got to say this. I mean, just so we're clear, man, Philadelphia is one of the most underrated food cities in America. Whenever you talk about food, you're always thinking Boston, New York, Chicago. Philadelphia, man. Good food. Pizza, everything. The Philly cheesesteak. No, but everything else is good in Philadelphia. I mean, I'm thinking, you always see these shows and they're always like, oh, these are food cities. I think Philadelphia is one of the most underrated food cities in America. I really do. Anyway.
Agreed.
But look, Stelio, it's been so nice to have you on the podcast. I don't know if the guys want to finish. Book, The Philly Godfather, Stelios Maltepes story. Get the book. You order online. We're going to put the link up. I'm reading it. I'm a third way through it. I'm really, really digging this fucking book, dude. It's good. This will be a TV series. Not maybe. It will be. And Stelios going to find a part for me in it, too. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was going to say, you need any extras, Stelios?
Listen, now that we're all friends, Adi, Portos, Angelo, you guys are all there. I'll find a part for you guys somewhere in there. And like Angelo talked about before when he was over here, he wanted to play Archie Karras, which was a friend of mine out in Vegas.
Right.
He was a Greek gambler that won $40 million and lost it all back. Ooh. And I said, hold on a second. Let me call someone out in Vegas, my friend Harry Amanatidis, and he was with Archie throughout that whole thing that transpired over like almost a 2-year period. And I had Angelo talk to him. So, yeah, Greeks are connected. Greeks need to stay connected. It's our culture. And now that we're all friends, anything you guys need from me, don't be scared. Just hit me up.
There you go.
Likewise.
Archie Karras, $42 million lost it. I told Stelio the story. I knew Archie Karras. Let me call his buddy. 2 phone calls. He goes, yeah, when you come to Vegas, come and see. I want to play him. And when I told Stelio, he goes, and you kind of have those similarities of him to play him. Because here's the deal. It's not that he won $42 million. That you got to, there's where you got to ask yourself, fuck you lose. But like Stelio said, it's only money. This
was great, Stelio. Thank you so much for joining us. And so many things that you said were something that like really makes you think, and it's an awesome way to think, and your attitude about it is amazing. So thank you. And we want to thank everybody out there for watching and listening. We're going to have all of Stelio's information in the show notes. Thank you once again, Stelio. And I don't know you. We spoke very briefly, but like I want to party with you, man. I feel like that's going to be a good night out. So thank you once again.
Whenever you're ready, man.
Thanks,
find me the bazooka, and we're there.
That's it.
We'll go.
So thank you, Stelio. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Foti. Thanks, everybody out there for watching and listening, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.